Hi.
Hi.
Hi everybody.
Hey there.
Hello everyone.
Salam sejahtera.
各位大家好。
Good evening, my fellow Singaporeans. My name is Chee Soon Juan, and I am the Secretary General of the Singapore Democratic Party.
I'm Dr. Paul Anantambaya.
My name is Benjamin Quinn.
I'm Min Cheong.
My name is Robin Low.
My name is James Gomez.
My name is Wayin.
I am Damanhuri Abbas.
I am Tan Ji Se.
I'm Alfred Tan.
Support me and support the SDP.
Please support us, support SDP.
Support the SDP.
Support the SDP.
Support the SDP.
Sokong SDP. உங்களுக்கு பணி செய்ய நான் காத்திருக்கிறேன்.
支持農能，支持民主黨。
Support us to help build a democratic Singapore based on justice and equality.
I invite you, my fellow Singaporeans, to stand up and walk.
Residents of Marsiling UTGRC, barely 2 years ago, after being sworn in as your minority candidate for Marsiling UTGRC in 2015, Madam Halimah Yaakob abandoned her ward in Marsiling for greener pasture at the Istana. A calling, one may say, but for who? Singapore, the Malay community, or for the PAP? Tonight, I would like to spend some time touching on this issue about how an MP that you voted decided without consulting you to abandon you halfway into her term, and what the PAP did to deny the voters of Marsiling in particular and the GRC as a whole your constitutional right to have a minority candidate. Let me say this first. I do not have anything against Madam Halimah personally. I have encountered her before, and from what we know of her track record, she is probably one of the few remaining PAP leaders with the heart for the people and will not hesitate to speak up for the people. However, Singaporeans have a right to question what happened 2 years ago in September when, without any contest, a president for our beloved country gets appointed. The SDP did what we can within the law and challenged the PAP for not calling for a by-election to allow voters your constitutional right to vote again, a replacement for the minority candidate who left her parliamentary seat vacant. For more than half a parliament term, not only voters of Marsiling UTGRC, but the entire nation is denied our constitutional right by having a parliament that is short of one member. These are serious and unethical. Yet the PAP in court argued incredibly that calling for a by-election is unnecessary, as, and I quote, what their lawyer, Mr. Hari Kumar, in court argued amazingly, that the minority position is only relevant during the general election. In other words, the GRC system established since 1988, 3 decades ago, as a safeguard to ensure minority representation is essentially irrelevant after the election. Malays, Indians, Eurasians, and all other minorities, you and I, we are only relevant for a minority certificate for election purposes. Beyond that, we are fair game to the PAP. Singaporeans must ask, what leap of logic is this that say one thing to the minority but then mean another when our value as a minority to them expires after an election? In the kopitiam parlance, apa ni suka-suka change? As you know, SDP's effort to fight for voters of Marsiling UT, your rights for a by-election failed. But our conscience is clear. We did what we must do for you, the people. At a moral level, the implications is more dire, much, much more dangerous, and very, very serious. Does it mean, therefore, that the minority MP that you have in your GRC is a convenient face to showcase our so-called multiracial society only? Throughout their term in Parliament, they actually are to remain silent on issues that matters and concern the community they represent? I thought that was the honorable and exemplary reasons for the GRC. Are we minorities a cosmetic feature, discarded after use, Then, what about your responsibility towards those who voted you into parliament? You came in as a team, but then, for a better position, you can simply abandon your constituents? What I am sharing with you, voters of Marsiling in particular, and the GRC in general, are the exact sentiments we heard walking the ground, visiting you at your homes, hearing your grouses, frustrations, feeling shortchanged, and even your anger. This is what happened in 2017. We are in another election called irresponsibly by the PAP during a COVID pandemic for nothing other than their political interests, at a time that gives us, the opposition, much lesser means to reach the voters, tying our hands behind our back in an election. But you now have the upper hand. The decks are reshuffled, the tables have turned, the power is now back in your hands. Make your power count. Reflect wisely on what I have mentioned, on what did happen, so that when you cast that vote on 10 July, the estate upgrading carrot the PAP team dangled before you becomes less important. Like I said before in my earlier speech, to have your estate well taken care, beautiful, and routinely upgraded are your rights for what you paid in town council fees and all the many other forms of taxes in the billions that are collected. It is unethical and immoral to place before you in an election false options, using them as electioneering weapons. Immediately, Singaporeans are rightly concerned about our livelihood being threatened. How do we put food on the table for our families? What assurance do we have that tomorrow our jobs will not disappear, like how some of our friends and loved ones discovered? Therefore, the SDP campaigns rightly on a call for 4 years and 1 no that will deal with the most vital issues you face now. We have summarized this as follows. Yes to suspend the GST. The SDP calls for 0% GST until the end of 2021 to help people and business cope with costs in this immediate climate of economic uncertainty. Yes to retrenchment benefits. The SDP calls for retrenched workers to be paid 50% of their last drawn salary for 18 months. Yes to provide retirement income, paying our elderly retirees aged 65 and above a decent monthly income of $500. Yes to putting people first. PAP calling for a GE during a COVID pandemic is clearly not putting people first. And finally, no to 10 million populations. Citizens must be given the first right of refusal to fair and just salaried jobs above any foreign PMET. These are our campaign promises to you, Singapore. The COVID-19 pandemic has indeed raised our collective worries into unprecedented levels, forced us to relook at all our priorities and assumptions. Things we are used to can no longer be taken for granted. People who for years tirelessly play unassuming, unglamorous, yet vital roles in society's upkeep, care and maintenance suddenly are seen and finally counted. These are the men and women deemed less worthy in our materialistic society that praise the moneymakers obscenely over all others. Therefore, my fellow Singaporeans, voters of Marsiling UT-GRC, cast your vote with your conscience. Yes, our feelings are very important, but for a little while, put aside your emotions. Let's bring back dignity to this election, rising above material promises and enticements. You voters are the real masters of your hopes and aspirations. The people you vote must be the servants of the people and deserving of the appointment to represent you, your interests, and your voice in Parliament. Vote for us. Vote for the SDP. Thank you and good night.